Hello and welcome to another Do It All Yourself guide video. Today we're going to be taking on the fun task of changing the battery on a 2008 Toyota Prius. I'm not talking about the hybrid battery, the one you use with the electric motor. I'm talking about the 12-volt battery used to power your electrical system. So there can be multiple symptoms for having a low or almost dead battery. It varies quite a bit. For me, this is what happened. I was using my car, driving my car around one day. The next day, I came to start it up, and this is what I got. Plugged in my keys, pushed on the brake, nothing. No, not even a light, not even a blink, completely dead, completely out. So my first guess is that this is a car battery issue. Got the car battery, got everything I need. This should be a fun, quick one. Let's get to it. So unlike most cars, the Prius doesn't actually have its car battery, the 12-volt battery in the front. But let me show you what's in the front. Obviously, here is your electric motor, your gas engine, and right here you will see a fuse box, the relay and fuse box right here. And from the fuse box, this plus positive terminal right there, that's actually connected to your 12-volt positive terminal. So if you ever need to jump the car or charge the car overnight with a car battery charger, you can access the terminal from here. And then you would use one of your bolts on the chassis as your ground. So you connect your positive terminal of the charger to this port right here, as well as a negative terminal of the charger to your chassis. So in the front of the Prius, the car battery will not be there. The car battery, the 12-volt battery for a Toyota Prius, is actually all the way in the trunk. It's going to be right here to the right side below the cover panels. Here's the trunk of the Prius. I'm going to go ahead and remove the panels, lock the back panel and remove it. And then you'll have your case here where you can store stuff. Remove that as well. For reference, we're not going to do anything with it today. But right here is your hybrid system car battery. That's the battery that powers your electric motor. I'm not going to do anything with that, but what we will do is right here to the right, there's this panel. Remove the top. These are all plastic panels. Remove these two tabs, and then this panel should come right off. Just like that. There's another tab here, connects to this. And right below this section will be the car 12-volt battery. And that's what we're going to be replacing today. So the battery is secured by this metal bar right there, as you can see. And then there are two bolts that we're going to remove. But before we do that, we have to remove the positive terminal connector. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Then we're going to be removing the metal bar right there. And then we're going to unscrew the positive and negative terminals. And then we should be able to get this battery loose so we can remove it. So let's get to it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and pop that positive connector. I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver just to disconnect those tabs. The top, the side, there's a tab on the side as well. So here we go. Got the one side off with just like that. So I'm not going to completely remove it. I'm just going to set the cover to the side so I can access the terminal bolt. So here's the terminal bolt right there. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal right there first. And then I'm going to go ahead and undo the positive terminal, and this whole section should come up. So I'm going to use one of those small wrenches that are easily maneuverable in a small tight space like this. So we'll go ahead and disconnect the negative terminal. This point should be loose enough. You can wiggle it. As you can see, wiggling it around. And there we go. At this point, there should be no power going to your vehicle. Do the same thing to the positive terminal. To help me out with this, I'm going to actually disconnect some of these connectors first. That way I could get more space. I'll use my screwdriver to push on it. So here's one. Pull the tab to the side. And then the second one, the main one, right here. Might be a little hard to get to. So I'll try to take out this connector right here. Same thing. Tab on the top, push down and pull. You also, the main positive terminal cable is tucked under this plastic piece. So I'm going to untuck it like that, so I can have a little bit more access to the connector itself. So for this third big plug right here, this main connector right here, the tab is actually on the bottom. So I'm going to use a screwdriver, flathead, underneath, push the tab up, and pull. It's a longer connector like that. At this point, I've got the cable completely disconnected, and I have full access to the positive terminal of the battery. Now, keep in mind that we're going to use this whole assembly to reattach to the new battery. So make sure you keep it intact. Don't put any extra force on it or anything like that. We're just disconnecting everything else around it and keeping it the same. So at this point, I have access to the terminal connector. This is the bolt right here. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this bolt, loosen it up. You don't have to unscrew it all the way. See, it comes loose fairly easily. So once this bolt is disconnected, we should be able to wiggle the terminal around a little bit. Also, you can use your flathead screwdriver to separate both ends of that connector, right, like that, and loosen it around the positive terminal of the battery. So it's starting to wiggle. Maybe I need to loosen it some more. Typically, it does take a little bit more wiggling around to get the connector off the battery. So that is normal. I'm going to use the screwdriver as leverage. I'm going to push up with the screwdriver while I'm side to side, just like that. So now I have this side disconnected as well. Now, last thing we're going to do is there's two bolts to disconnect. There's one back here, as you can see, that bottom bolt right there, and then this bolt right here. And once we unscrew these two, we should have full access to the battery to disconnect. So next we're going to go ahead and kind of clear some of the area here a little bit to be able to free the battery out. So we're going to remove these two bolts right there to unplug this brake control power system, and then we're going to also remove this bracket right here so we can clear the way to get the battery out. This is a Toyota, so it's going to use metric bolts. So you'll see 10mm bolts right here and 12mm bolts. So go ahead and remove these real quick. Just keep track of those bolts because we're going to need them to put stuff back. So this should come a little bit loose right here. And we don't need it all the way out. We just need it to be kind of tucked into the side a little bit so we can get the battery out. Next, we'll do this 10mm bolt up here. This is just to get the brake control power unit. Just step to the side. Actually, on second thought, I'm going to take this device out altogether. That way I have full access to the battery. All right, got all the bolts out. You should be able to just slide this out like this. There it is. Now, we set this to the side here. Now we have full access to get the battery undone and out. Next, we have the battery itself held in place by this metal bar. So all we gotta do is unscrew this bolt as well as this full one back here, and then the battery should be almost loose. There's a little connector on the side here you gotta watch out for. You just kind of pull on the side right there and get it unplugged. Back to 10mm socket. Here we go. Here it is. This is fairly loose. So next, we'll just undo the bolt in the back there, and the battery should be ready to come loose. Here's a closer look at what we're looking at here, what we're working on. So this is also a 10mm nut right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew this using my 10mm socket. It's a little bit hard to get into it, a little tighter space. So I'm simply gonna slide the socket behind it or push on it just to get it going here like that. But the fabric is going to be in the way a little bit. But because this is not really tightened all the way, you may be able to reach back there and simply unscrew it by hand. You can also push down on the bracket a little bit, and that'll expose this nut so you have better leverage, or you can use a small wrench. Okay, wrench it is. Here we go. The hardest thing about this part is not really that it's difficult, it's just a little bit of a tight space. Now as you get closer, make sure you don't lose this, so you make sure you don't lose that nut, and just use your fingers to unscrew it all the way. There we go. Now that that's undone, the top bracket will come off just like that, and we're going to put this to the side as we pull the battery out and put the new battery in. Okay, so now the battery should be completely loose. All we gotta do is tuck some of these connectors to the side, get them kind of out of the way while we get the battery out. So I got my negative terminal right there. I'm just gonna go ahead and tuck it to the side, back there behind that bolt, or into that bolt right there, just like that. And then we're gonna wiggle the battery forward and pull it out. So this is also undone. As you can see, the battery should be loose. If you're lucky enough like me, you'll have a little handle like that to pull it out. So take full advantage of that. You have to wiggle it out a little bit. Just get this. There we go. Here's our old battery. I got 12 years. Oh, years. No, I got 13 years out of this battery. Definitely got my money's worth here, but it has ran its course. And here's the holder for the battery. Ready to put the new battery in. Here's the new battery. This is not exactly the same width. As you can see, it's a little bit wider, but it is the same exact height. Almost identical. It is a little bit wider. So one thing we'll have to think about as we place the new one in is it going to fit? I'm pretty sure, looking at the space we have here, it is definitely going to fit. There's plenty of wiggle room, but most importantly, it is the same height. I'm keeping the covers on the terminals just so we don't have to worry about it. So to fully get this in place, I'm actually going to remove this vent right here. There's a bolt right back there. You can see it's a 10mm bolt. So you might be wondering, why did I not take this piece out from the get-go? Well, my approach to a lot of these do-it-yourself projects is, if it's a piece that's not in the way, I can keep it on. It's not affecting what I'm doing anyway. Just keep it on. There's no reason to spend time taking it out. But right now, I'm realizing it is actually in the way to install the new battery. It was not in the way to take out the old battery. So I'll go ahead and unscrew this one right here. I lost the bolt, but that's okay. This piece right here should come right off. Just like that. That's just a vent pipe. Full access to the battery now. So the battery well. Go ahead and take the battery out. Now I can see very clearly where the battery is going to sit and decide how I'm going to fit the new battery in the battery well. Now that I have more room, I can slide it in more easily. I can adjust it a lot more easily. All right, so everything out of the way, ready to plug in the battery. I'm going to slide it in. Because this is a little bit wider, I'm going to keep it as close to this car chassis right here as possible. That way it doesn't bump into that corner. So here we go. And there it is. That should be well in place, well intact. Should be able to secure this in place without any problem. So the first thing I'm going to do after that is connect this vent back. That was the last thing I took out. I'm going to go ahead and connect this vent back because it is the last thing we took out, and it has to go in first before everything else fits in place. I'm just going to make sure I line it up right. All right, so that's now in place. You can go ahead and attach the bolt that's in there on the inside. This one right here. So attached by hand. Okay, got it attached. Use my screwdriver attach this back. All right, that's good. Now I'm at it. I'm gonna go ahead and attach this second bolt. If you remember earlier, that was also a 10mm bolt. Okay, so now this vent is attached like it was. Okay, building back up. Now that this vent is attached, we're gonna secure the battery. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach the bracket that we took earlier. Should be easier to attach than to disconnect. Notice I still have the terminal caps on. The intent of this bracket is not to tighten it all the way and crush the battery, but the goal of this metal bracket right here is to secure the battery in place. Do not over tighten the brackets that secure the batteries to the chassis. They're not really intended to tighten things down. They're really intended to secure rather than clamp it down. If you over tighten, you could actually break the plastic of the battery and end up having lead and all kinds of stuff spill over, which would be a very, very bad day. This is a 10mm bolt. I'm going to tighten it all the way to the chassis itself. So I'm going to hand tighten the one on the top. I'm not going to over tighten at all. When I push on the bracket, it is moving. So I still got quite a few rounds. So I might start tightening it. See, I'm going slow, watching for how much give I got. I think it's actually good enough. So again, I don't want to over tighten it. This battery isn't going anywhere, neither up or down or sideways. So I'm not going to over tighten it. This is good enough. And then at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and put the brake control power unit back. So that's this guy right here. You can only really attach this back one way because of the brackets that secure it. And then there's a little spot right there at the top that goes under this bracket. Simply just slide it in place, line up the holes, and then hand attach the bolts. Again, 12mm bolts for the legs of this thing, and then it was a 10mm for the top. Gonna hand tighten. Here's my 10mm. Gonna tighten the top bolt. I got it on the lightest level right here, so it does not over tighten. Okay, now I'm gonna tighten 12mm bolts. Here we go. And there you go. Now it's secure. Now it's intact. Now it's in place. So next step, we're going to go ahead and connect the battery terminals. Nothing really is connected the rest of the vehicle unless you plug in these connectors. But you can plug in the battery terminals first, and then you can proceed with connecting the cable itself. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and plug in the terminals, secure the terminals in place, and then connect the cables, the connectors. Negative battery, go ahead, remove the cap, the plastic cap, so you can expose the negative electrode. And then now keep in mind the positive is also covered, so should be no power going through here. Gonna wiggle this down in place. I'm gonna grab a little hammer and tap on it. Should be easier. All right, here we go. That looks much better. I'm gonna go ahead and actually tighten the bolt, and I am gonna tighten it all the way. You want to make sure it's very secure. Okay, negative terminal is attached. Next, very similar, but this one is actually a little bit better because you do have a little wiggle room right here where you can use a socket wrench. You go ahead and remove the cover, then the positive terminal, and then it should be loose enough. See, it just fits, so we can use a socket wrench right here. I can use my electric screwdriver. I got it turned down to like only 7, so don't over tighten it. All right, that should be pretty tight and secure. So got the positive terminal connected. Next, we'll go ahead and attach the cables. There are 3 distinct and unique connectors in this cable. They are each keyed differently, as you can see. So it is almost impossible to connect them the wrong way or inverted or anything, because every one of these is unique. The very smallest one goes on the left right here. The center one goes right here, just like we undid them earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the main center one. As you can see, it's keyed. Really easy. And then there's enough wiggle room, and it's just a snap and a click. So here's the first one, here's the second one, and here is the third one. And as you do that, you'll probably hear some clicks or things in your vehicle as the power comes back and your car is back to life. But before I forget, there is still this cover for your positive terminal. Wiggle it in, attach to the side, just to cover and secure your positive terminal. Okay, so now that everything is back, let's go ahead and go up to the front and see if this Prius comes back to life. Okay, so back in the front, as you can see at the beginning of the video, I didn't even have a single blink. Now I can see some blinking lights in the dash. Here you go. Let's see if this thing is gonna come back to life. I pushed the brakes and I heard the good old buzz. Let's see if this did the trick. Oh, looks good. I got air. I got blinks. I think we got it done, guys. Looks like it's back. So that's it. That's a simple thing you could do to fix your Prius. Yesterday, when this thing was completely dead, I thought, oh, is this it? 16-year-old Toyota Prius ready to go? But I was like, no, there's probably one more do-it-yourself project there. So no new car for me. This thing is still going. It's a good day. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe to my channel. Also, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any tips or something I didn't cover here, share it in the comments. Others might be able to read it and benefit from your experience as well. Thanks for watching.